Oh, man. You got a camera?
Bulls have a 7-4 lead here.
Opening up to Clerk. Turns inside.
Oh, the dream shot.
Olajuwon spinning one way, back to fall away.
Oh, the dream. Put a little dream shot.
Work on Bryant. Turns to the right side and a turn baseline.
Just a few years ago, as we all watched the mid-2010 style of basketball evolve right in front of our eyes, more three-pointers taken, less big men on the floor, I genuinely thought we were seeing traditional big men get moved and pushed away out of the original game of basketball. Teams like the Rockets and Warriors were really trying to push this trend. The Warriors even created their infamous death lineup, and the Rockets obviously for the second half of the 2010s were running guys like PJ Tucker, who are only 6'4 or 6'7 depending on who you ask, to start at center. Fast forward some times and now we see these refreshing talents like Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, and of course the reason we're making this video today, Joel Embiid. Before we get started in this video, I have to say that remember the title of this series is Loose Comparisons. While you may learn that Joel can resemble some of his game, him and Hakeem will always be two different players, and that's what makes them great. Now, onto the video. Hakeem comes in at a height of 7 foot and a weight of 256, while Joel Embiid is listed at 7 foot, 280 pounds, but I can assure you their heights aren't the only things that are similar about their game. Joel had this to say when reporters asked him about Hakeem and his resemblance to him. So when you talk about skill, obviously Hakeem is probably considered as a more skilled player, especially for his size. Just the way he moved on the court, I try to put it in my game, and his post game was unmatched, so I try to add that to my game. Add that to his game, he did. Joel is one of the most patient big men we see in today's NBA. Just like Hakeem, he'll put someone on the block and slowly back them down and figure out the best way to give them the most grueling 2 points. He also moves up and down the court at will. Joel, while being bigger than Hakeem, weighing more, he still possesses that soft movement and touch around the rim that Hakeem did. They're both honestly like big guards, the way they can just spiral down the floor and create something out of nothing. Take a look at Hakeem's stats from his MVP season next to Joel Embiid's 2022 season. As you can see, they're both monsters on the glass and can score at will, but what you will start to notice is a difference in the defensive output. Hakeem averaged 3.7 blocks that year, and the year prior he averaged an insane 4.2. Joel gatekeeps the ability to play defense and rise up to contest pretty much any shot, but I think unfortunately injury may play a big factor in this. In Joel Embiid's first 7 seasons, he played 328 out of 574 games, which is around 57% of the games played, while Hakeem in his first season played 524 out of 574, which is around 91% of the games played. I'm not asking Embiid to become an Iron Man or magically stop getting injured, because I know it's out of his control and it's not his fault. But you can only imagine the potential that not only Joel, but the 76ers could reach if he wasn't so riddled with injuries towards the end of the season and even going into the playoffs. Now that we've established what's similar on the court, let's talk about their resumes and how they're similar now versus how I think it could look when it's all said and done. For starters, Hakeem's resume is very impressive. I mean, there's a reason he was drafted ahead of Michael Jordan and no one says anything. We're mainly going to focus on his 2 championships, his MVP, and his 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Obviously, Joel has won none of these rewards, but he's come relatively close to all of them aside from Defensive Player of the Year, which again, I think his health plays a big part in. So for the next however long we talk about this what if, I need you guys to imagine Joel is healthy. Having said that, if Joel can stay healthy, I seriously can see him winning an MVP soon. This honestly could be his year, and as far as winning a championship, I think him and the Sixers are more than able. Basketball is a game of runs, and who can stay healthy? Yes, you need a lot of skill to win championships, but you also need a little bit of luck. I mean, ask Hakeem. It took Michael Jordan retiring for 2 years for him to win those championships. Joel and Harden have shown flashes of greatness these past 6 months, and they've both been putting in a lot of work this offseason. I think this year will play a testament to the type of leader Joel is going forward. The Nets have retooled and will have Kyrie all year. The Celtics are coming off a finals run, and the Heat and Bucks can still always make a run. Not to mention, young teams like we've talked about, like the Cavs or the Raptors, could surprise anyone this year. So this, to me, is the year for Joel to grab a hold of the league and the 76ers and get out and running to a hot start. I don't want to see 20 games into the seasons like the Lakers last year. Oh, we're figuring this and that out. No, the ceiling for this team shrinks by the minute the second that starts to happen. So Joel, like Hakeem, needs to rally his troops and acquire some hardware. This may sound like I'm stating the obvious, yes, but I think with big men, they're held to a higher standard when it comes to talking about winning and resumes. I mean, look at the greatest big men of all time. The first names that should pop into your head: Kareem, Bill Russell, Shaquille O'Neal. We're talking about 11, 6, 4 championship rings per person. And Embiid has none. You hear guys like Shaq, like I just mentioned, flaunting how he's won 4, and how someone like Chuck or Kevin Garnett or Patrick Ewing has won 0. And not to mention, Joel has such a social media presence, and it's mostly, unfortunately for his case, a troll type of presence. So I can only imagine if his career ends with 0 championships, 0 MVPs, and 0 depoys, what the NBA Twitter would actually say. It would truthfully be a violation. They'd probably never let him live. It's either that or he'd get injured, and we'd have to unfortunately chalk this up as a what if. But hey, I'm optimistic. Joel will turn 28 next season, officially entering his prime. It took Hakeem till the age of 30 to win his first MVP and championship, so I think Joel is just fine for now. Before we end this video, it's only right that just like in the Kawhi and Jordan video, which if you haven't seen, I would check it out, I have to talk about the difference between these talents. Resumes aside, Hakeem is much skinnier than Joel, and oddly, he uses his body a little bit better. And that's not a slight towards Joel, because he still has some learning to do, but Hakeem knew how to use his body against pretty much every position 1 through 5. His positioning on offense and defense pretty much guaranteed success in the favor of him in any matchup, whether, like I said, it was on offense or defense. However, for what Joel Embiid lacks, and I say lacks in quotes because I know he has the potential to play defense, but I digress. For what Joel lacks in defense, he definitely makes up in his ability to stretch the floor. Just like I said in the beginning of this video, the game is evolving into a shooter's paradise, and everyone, including the bigs, need to be able to stretch the floor. Embiid has shown that he can not only let it fly from downtown, but he can also let it fly from off the dribble, which is remarkable. This guy is 280 pounds, and he is putting the ball on the ground like a 170-pounder. That is something Hakeem definitely didn't do, but I don't blame him. His era didn't require it, to be fair. He shot an average of 0.02 three-pointers a game for his entire career, while Joel attempts 4 a night. Only time will tell if Joel is able to use the second half of his career to carve out and buff up his resume, and we are all going to be lucky if we're able to see him stay healthy and play and operate night in and night out. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below, and subscribe and hit that bell if you're new and like this type of NBA content. If you guys have any suggestions for who you'd want to see next on this series, just leave them down below in the comments like I said. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.